right, we are going live. We are going live. Woohoo! And on an unexpected day and time, usually. Let's make sure that all the audio is going over well. For those of you who are joining us today, hope you're having a fantastic day, morning, evening, wherever you are at. Let's see here. Ooh, looks like it's... Oh no, are we going to have a little bit of choppiness? Well, that sucks. That's not good. The sigh. Opening difficulties for the live stream. Maybe this is punishment for taking the usual Friday off, but it was the 4th of July. I needed the break, needed time to spend time with family, want to see some fireworks, and just to have a good old day. So for anyone else who has happened to be celebrating the 4th of July, I hope that you had a fantastic 4th of July. And if you don't celebrate the 4th of July, then I hope that you just had a fantastic Friday, and that it was all that everything treated you absolutely fantastically well. Okay, so, well, let's just get into this. Unfortunately, I don't have 3 hours of time on my hands today. It is a busy day. There's a lot going on. For one thing, I made serious progress in my quest to build a mini tabletop battle reenactment of the Battle for the Tower out of the Stormlight Archive, The Way of Kings. Oh, it's so beautiful as it's all coming together. I have the pieces of the Great Plateaus now all cut out. It's just a matter of assembling everything together and then putting on the necessary putty, painting it, then putting on the texture, which will be clay from out of the crazy desert that I live in, because we have ridiculously horrible soil. So I'll be mixing up all of that stuff for my own backyard and then just lathering it on, and then it'll be time to get all of the miniatures, get them all painted and presentable, and then the battle can then come together, and it'll be a fun production. And I hope to share with everyone here on this channel what that looks like, and then have a chance to make a video about one of my favorite battles out of the Stormlight Archive, as well as pull out some very interesting writing advice, stuff that people would say, well, duh, but often kind of just honestly goes overlooked, especially when the rule of cool gets applied. And while Brandon Sanderson absolutely created a phenomenal setting with the Shattered Plains, and the rule of cool then most definitely doth apply, there's still, I found out in the process of creating this replica of the tower, the great big plateau, that's like, oh, even Sanderson, who is absolutely intricate in all of the details they can put into his stories, almost not quite rivaling Tolkien, but definitely getting up to Tolkien levels of information, even he missed some big stuff. And we'll get into that once I can show you guys the whole replica and how this battle will proceed as it's reenacted and so forth. So I'm looking forward to making that. So I spent my morning on, and then there's just other things to do today, which is why I will not be taking copious amounts of time with this live stream. So with that being said, let me then dive into what the topic is for today's live stream, which is more bordering on just a live rant than anything else. And that is that we've kind of entered this strange age of mediocrity within storytelling. It's especially prevalent now in Hollywood. And this came to my mind as I went and saw with my family Jurassic World Rebirth and Elio. Now, let me just quickly say right off the bat, and I'll pop up some of the footage of these movies right here because why not? We'll see if I get copyright struck for this. So, Jurassic World Rebirth is a dino action flick. None of the intelligence of the original Jurassic Park is there. Any world building from any of the Jurassic movies has been thrown out the window. This is a movie you turn your brain off. You watch as a handful of people go up against dinos. All of them should die, but they don't because plot armor exists in vast quantities in this movie. And I will get into my review and my critique for this film here pretty soon. But it's shocking to me that so many people are going to go see it, and I think in large parts because people just want to have an action flick. People just want to be able to enjoy something, and that's absolutely fine. And I too enjoyed being able to sit down, turn off my brain, and watch a movie. And I was making fun of it with my nephew while he was dressed in a shark costume. It was a night. It was a fun night. But the moment that I stopped to think about what was happening in this movie, my enjoyment for it just plummeted. It went down into the depths of hell and never came back. Then we got the movie Elio. Elio, despite what so many pundits on the internet are saying, it's not a bad movie. Is it one of Pixar's greatest movies? No, it isn't. Is it better than Jurassic World Rebirth? Absolutely. Is it a movie that, as people are getting all into the controversy, is like, it needed to be more gay? No, it sucks because it's gay. I just FYI for everyone, if you didn't know that was an issue going into this movie, there's nothing in this film that would let you know that was the case. Not a single shred. That's just the fact of the matter. And it annoys me to no end that this is now where we are, where people want to hate on Disney. And there's plenty of reasons to hate on Disney. I've taken Disney to task multiple times, and rightfully so. But it's kind of dumb that we've gotten to this point where people want to hate on Disney and on Pixar, and so they go looking for something that they know is going to trigger people. Elio has plenty of problems. Modern day politics and whatnot, not so much at all. And so, yeah, we'll get into what Elio's problems are as well, because it definitely has them. It's really sad because it could have been a very swell, sweet movie. It actually has a couple of really good scenes and some very emotional scenes as well, even with all the problems that it has. So that's why I say it is a far better movie than Jurassic World Rebirth or Rebirth. But then I also want to bring into the conversation K-pop Demon Hunter, which is a fantastic movie. And the thing is that Sony could have walked to the bank with loads of cash, having owned all the other major studios with this movie, but they didn't. And this ties into yet another issue of mediocrity within Hollywood. That when Hollywood executives have an absolute banger on their hands, they refuse to do anything with it because we've gotten to a point now where it's not so much about telling great stories or promoting those stories, doing amazing things with them. It's all about the content. Just to have that steady waterfall, gushing geyser of mindless nonsense. The studio heads over at Sony probably looked at this and said, oh, K-pop is popular, but only in certain parts of the world. And we don't know if it'll do well here in America, because they just saw K-pop and Asian. So they said, put it on Netflix because there's a lot of Asian stuff that's really popular on Netflix. So we'll just put it there. I highly doubt that any major higher up at Sony ever bothered once watching this movie. And because of that, that's why it got shuffled off over to Netflix rather than dominating the scene in movie theaters right now. Gah. So Tyler Goodman says, I think Jurassic World Rebirth was way better than the other two movies. Okay, then. So Tyler Goodman, well, let's start getting a conversation going here in the chat. I want to hear your reasons why you enjoyed Jurassic World Rebirth more than the other two movies. I am not going to try to convince you to fall in line with me. I want to, though, hear your reasoning, and I'm going to start giving you guys my reasoning for why Jurassic World Rebirth was not a good movie from a writer's perspective. So, that said, we'll go into some depth of these three movies. I'll then bring it all together about how these movies coming out around the same time have demonstrated this slide into mediocrity within Hollywood and what kind of environment that creates for us novice authors. So that is my goal with this live stream. All right, so popping back on over to the footage. Which here's the thing. As far as the cinematics go, let me just get out of the way something right here. In terms of what looks better, Jurassic World Rebirth looks better on screen. It looks good. It looks better than the previous two Jurassic World movies, at least, maybe even the past 4 or so Jurassic anything movies in terms of visuals. I have a sweet spot in my heart for The Lost World. The Lost World still went back to using a lot of practical effects and tried to kind of keep that magic from the first movie alive. The first movie's visuals are stunning and will not be beaten by any of the other Jurassic Park or Jurassic World movies until someone returns to basics. All right, so Tyler Goodman says, because it returns that classic horror theme for the other Jurassic Park, and I love they include the family just like Jurassic World 3. Okay, so there's your reasoning, Tyler. And you know what? In terms of its horror scenes, it's got some good horror scenes. Not going to deny that. The chase scene with the T-Rex was excellent. The cramped situation in the underneath the laboratory when you go into the tunnels was cool and had me at the edge of my seat. That was good. And so yeah, but let's start getting a little bit into the story thing. They also ditched the clone girl plot line, and the mutant dinosaurs are very good. So yes, thank you for ditching the clone girl plot line because that was dumb. The mutant dinosaurs are barely in the movie, which kind of plays to their advantage, but also to their disadvantage, in my opinion. So let's put a pin right there into the mutant dinosaurs. Let's start off with the world building. This movie takes every other movie other than the first Jurassic Park movie and says, never mind those, and tosses them all out the window. Yes, it does. The movie takes the first 15 minutes to basically say, never mind all that. Dinosaurs exist, sure, but they're now all by the equator because heat and oxygen. Everything else that happened, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. No one cares about dinosaurs anymore. And no one. There are millions, tens of millions of people on the modern equator who would beg to differ if thousands, tens of thousands of murderous dinosaurs went into their region and took over. That is one of the most eye-rolling things ever. Because and with them saying how no one cares about dinosaurs, well, everyone seems to really like to obey the laws surrounding the dinosaurs that no one cares about. It's trying to have your cake and eat it too, and you could have if you decide to dedicate way more attention and time to that aspect of the story, but the plot didn't. Instead, the plot really, really quickly just wants to get to the action. And you know what? I'm fine with them saying, oh, we're going to go and gather fresh genetics from these dinosaurs because apparently no one else has had them in the past few years. Whatever. Never mind that there was a whole bunch of illegal cloning happening outside of InGen in the previous 2 movies. Never mind all of that. We're just going to continue moving on now. Again, this is why this movie is just like, yeah, never mind those movies. All the things that all things have been said beforehand don't matter. Other than that dinosaurs have been cloned, they exist again, and they're on an island somewhere. Magically so, because of InGen. So the world building, the justifications, everything is just, it doesn't make really a whole lot of sense. Now, again, I'm totally fine with some evil corporate head who's not even really all that evil. He's just vain and stupid. Wants to get his hands on dinosaur genetics in order to create a drug that should help people with heart disease. And even if he's going to charge people through the nose to get it, that's the way that pharmaceuticals run these days. So be it. We have people who are hired to go onto this dangerous island, collect the necessary samples of DNA so that way they can then create the drugs. Boom, there's your little story. We then have a side story of the family that is sailing around the world to celebrate that the oldest daughter got into college. And she brought her horrible boyfriend who has no character growth whatsoever. And this actually is pretty standard throughout this entire story. There are no character arcs for anyone. There are character traits. There are character traits. There is no character development. There are no character arcs. There are character traits. Every character in this movie, if they survive, is in the exact same position. Mentally, physically, spiritually, any other kind of Lee, other than maybe the little girl who is now okay talking about and looking at dinosaurs. Everyone else is in the exact same spot, with the exact same mentality, the exact same problems, the exact same character, everything. There is not a single bit of character growth. Hey, Mimic, great to have you here. Woohoo! Happy 4th of July weekend to you as well. So that's just something incredibly frustrating. And it becomes especially egregious with the family because the boyfriend, by every bit of plot logic, unless he changes for the better, should have died or should have changed. He doesn't change. We never learn what his dark secret is, why he cannot believe that the girlfriend, the older daughter, is still with him. That whole plot thread is left dangling. This guy receives no character development. Yes, sure, he does some things. But what? So what? That's not character development. He did things. Doing things is not character development. Character development is you do something and your character changes as a person because of it. He never changes. And because he does so many stupid things that within the story should literally get him killed, he is saved by Deus Ex Pterodactyl at one point. When velociraptors are this close to eating him, just an inch away from killing him, he gets saved by a Deus Ex Pterodactyl. And the story goes on. He learns nothing from this. He continues to be dumb. It's just, it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating. And again, when I say like every character, even physically, is in the exact same place where they were beforehand, at one point in the movie, it plays up that the dad might have sprained his ankle or broken his leg. Next scene, he's walking just fine on it. Just totally fine. Oh, and then the world building. The world building comes back to bite them in the rear at various moments, especially for the heartwarming moment where the little girl is supposed to be taking her dinosaur that she's now all friends with back up north. Wait a second. You guys live in like New York, state of New York, or in Connecticut, way above the equator, where dinosaurs apparently suffocate to death now? and it's too cold for them, you're going to take a little dinosaur back up to upstate New York or Connecticut. Yeah. The world building says that sweet little pet is going to die. And again, if you think about it, you realize it and you're like, oh my gosh, that's awful. While I was watching the movie and I had my brain turned off, I was like, oh, it's so cute. Yay. And then the moment that the credits started rolling and I was talking about the movie with my nephew and I thought about that scene, I just started laughing because I was like, what the heck? What the heck? You just ruined the emotional payoff. Ah. Tyler Goodman says the best part that the mutant T-Rex ate the helicopter and the score is terrifying. Okay, so that was a cool moment. It was a cool moment. Let's just be honest here. But let us also be honest about something. The D-Rex serves no purpose in this movie except to have a horror scene at the beginning and at the end. Does this thing chase them? It does not until it's the time for it to chase them. So there's never this overwhelming sense of fear or danger from the D-Rex. It just is. It shows up in the beginning to eat the guy whose stupid Snicker wrapper managed to take down an entire facility. Oh my gosh. I was talking about Deus Ex Pterodactyl. Let's talk about Deus Ex Trash. Where a piece of trash is the inciting incident for the entire movie. The one piece of trash could take out the entire base. It's just dumb. I know it doesn't take out the whole base. That the base was eventually abandoned, and that InGen decided that it was cheaper to just let the dinosaurs roam free. And again, this is asking you to forget the lost world and that it even exists, where InGen makes it very clear in that movie that they cannot just let the dinosaurs be at peace because it will bankrupt them, which John Hammond does, which leads to Jurassic World in the first place because they needed the money in order to preserve the dinosaurs. Again, this movie asks you to forget all of that. Oh, it's so dumb. It's so dumb. Tyler says the reason why the D-Rex didn't chase them because that thing is blind and it can only see light. And this is where again you have to turn your brain off for these moments, because if that's the case, then there's no reason that this thing should be hanging around the base. It should be out there in the big wilds where it can see things more clearly in order to catch its prey. A monstrosity such as that thing, like when you see it in its full glory, it doesn't look good at all. In the shadows, the D-Rex is really cool. And again, when it's being played up for horror moments, it's really good. But you do have to turn your brain off in order to not see a lot of the glaring issues setting all this up. And again, the fact that it's just exists there at the end as kind of this final boss that they have to get around, it diminishes the impact that a monster like this should have. It should be epic. It should be absolutely horrifying and just be this haunting presence throughout the movie. It isn't. It's there for two moments: the very beginning of the movie and the last chase scene at the end of the movie. As a result, it doesn't feel like a monster that we should really care too much about. It is creepy. It is cool when it's in the shadows. But otherwise, its presence is just more of it. Its presence is the last segment in a story of and then, 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 and then. Because there's no character progression. If there was character progression in the story, the incessant and thens, and thens, and thens, and thens, and thens would mean something and would feel like the story is progressing other than along its allotted time slots. And that is something that I've begun to see other movie reviewers and just writers in general finally saying the things that I have said now in regards to something like the Rings of Power, is that this feels like a first draft. I was recently watching a review from the YouTuber Dan Merle, who is a fantastic movie nerd. This guy knows way more than I ever will. And he himself is all like, I like the writer. I like the director. I liked moments in this movie, but it felt like a first draft to facilitate those cool moments. So let's talk about some of those cool moments, though. Let's at least give the movie its due. Not just the D-Rex, but the T-Rex chase scene is really cool. It keeps you at the edge of your seat. It is fantastically done, with the way that the environment plays a role in everything, how the T-Rex, like the family only survives this because the T-Rex has just woken up. That is very, very clear. Until the T-Rex gets blocked by two boulders. That's where it's like, my nephew, we were all like, he and I were like, yes, so cool. And then we got to the end, and then it was just like, wait, what? That's it? This T-Rex that has been following them along this river and jumping and swimming to catch them stops because two boulders get in the way. You can even see it there for a brief moment on the screen. That's really disappointing because the rest of the scene is so good. Another scene that is actually really good and is unfortunately also kind of taken down a peg because the characters are just so dumb, is when they're first getting to the island. The bounty hunters, the paleontologist, and the CEO guy have picked up the family after the family got capsized by the mosasaur. They pick them on up, and they find out that there are spinosaurs swimming around in the ocean, and they are corralling them, not just fish, but them. And the paleontologist is like, oh, look how they're circling. Predators do this when they are in a symbiotic relationship with a much larger predator in order to make sure that the food is brought to one place so that way they can all feast together. And everyone's like, oh, and not for a single moment does anyone on the boat consider that they are the prey. When the guide pointed out just right then that the spinosaurs are corralling the food. So the humans are really dumb, can't hit the broadside of a barn in that scene. That doesn't take away that's a really cool chase scene with the mosasaur trying to take out the boat, and with the spinosaurs really pulling off some devious moves in how they corner and kill some of the people on the ship. It is a really intense and bloody scene. It's a really good action set piece that has the right amount of horror sprinkled into it. So it's a really well done scene, but it's a scene that, once again, is only facilitated because these characters are just the dumbest. So the world building. So this is why I didn't like the movie. The world building demands that you forget that any movie post Jurassic Park ever happened. And then the movie itself decides to ignore the most basic fundamentals of its own world building, which it drills into your head for the first 15, 20 minutes of the movie. It then decides to ignore it at the end. Hey, Arts, great to have you here. Meg says, I feel like this movie could have been very interesting if it was about the little girl and her dinosaur friend and how she navigates and survives the dino world with her new friend by her side. That could have been interesting. Here's the thing: is that this movie, this movie right here. Yes, Arts, you are number 3. At least number 3 to comment here in the chat. This movie should have been split into 2 separate stories. One about the family, and only about the family. That could have been really, really good. Or only only about or only about the mercenaries going to the island, because otherwise there's just not enough time, even with a longer runtime, to cover all the things that they should have done, or to give any of these characters proper character development and still maintain all the things that Gareth Edwards and his crew really, really wanted to have in the story. The action set pieces are great. The cinematography is beautiful. The use of music is fine. The CGI and the effects are on point. The movie is just over 2 hours. It's like 2 hours and 19 minutes, if I remember correctly. Arts. So in terms of some people's attention span, it's too long. For me, that's a perfect length for a movie. But it was not good enough for what they all put in to the story, and to give these characters any sort of character development. It's just so frustrating, so frustrating. So yeah, the writing. Hey, I'm Omega. Sup? What's going on? I am right now ranting about Jurassic World Rebirth, and not in the best way, and not in a good way. The thing is that from a writer's standpoint, it is the most basic of plots, which is totally fine. A basic plot's totally fine. But then a basic plot needs to be complemented by good characters. No character, then arguably the little girl, has any sort of character progression. And the little girl's character progression is that she goes from hating dinosaurs to now having a little dinosaur pet. That is her character progression. Everyone else in this story literally is in the exact same place where they started at the beginning of the movie, physically, spiritually, mentally, every other kind of leap possible, no matter what they went through. And that's just sad, because a story lives or dies by its characters. While this movie has some really cool scenes, those scenes will be remembered. This movie will not. And that's a shame. And just to, let's see here, let me see, let me pull up just how much movie this money has already made. How much money has Jurassic World Rebirth made? Let's see here. How old is this particular article? This article is from today. Okay. So, all right. So this movie has made $312 million. Okay, so we are back. That was frustrating. Yeah, wasn't just my audio cut out. Everything crashed. Everything crashed. The sigh. Okay, so time to pull up the footage and everything again. Okay, there we go. So at least you guys can hear me again, and we are back. So $312 million. So going back to what I was saying, how much money has this movie already made? $312 million. Woohoo. Good for them. They are likely. Let me pull up details right here. Jurassic World Rebirth production budgets. How much money did these guys spend? They spent $180 million, plus then also advertising and the likes. Very likely brought this movie on up to $230 plus million. So with 312, you need to make at least double at the box office what you put into spending for your movie in order to break even. This movie is on track to break even and to possibly make them money. Good for them. Hey, you know what? That you guys did it, and let's give people credit where credit is due. Again, it's totally fine for people to go to a movie, turn off their brains, watch some action, get some creepy scenes, and just have a good old time. That's absolutely fine. I am not going to knock people for wanting that. Heck, I went to go see the movie to have a good time, so I am right there as well. Tagam says Alexander Desplat did an amazing job, capture the style of John Williams. When they saw the mutant brachiosaurs, I heard the classic theme song, impressed. They did use it. And they learned from the mistake of the first Jurassic World movie. However, there is a fantastic video that was done by the YouTube channel Listening In that really explained why the original John Williams theme works so well. And part of the problem with the brachiosaur, with the titanosaur scene, as sweet as it was, is that it didn't feel like it really belonged. And my nephew was all like, I don't understand what's going on here. He's like, why are we stopping to have this moment? And again, because this movie demands that you forget everything that happened post the original Jurassic Park, that means that you have to forget a conversation that is had in the third movie between Alan Grant and the little boy, or the young teenager, I should say, where they talk about astronomers versus astronauts. How the astronomer is able to see everything from a distance, and he can see the great, big, beautiful picture and is safe. But the astronomer gets to go into space and experience everything, but at the risk of their life. So who do you want to be? Do you want to be an astronomer, or do you want to be the astronaut? And the paleontologist in this movie really does, in his heart of hearts, want to be the astronaut kind of a character. That's what that scene is all about. It's of him finally having his astronaut moment. The thing is that particular development does not work in the movie because this guy is so freakishly skilled already with his mechanics, with his hunting abilities, with his knowledge. The guy can outpace the mercenaries in terms of physicality. This guy is already the astronaut, quote unquote, within the story. The only thing he was missing was the chance to hug a dinosaur. And so it lacks the same beauty and depth as Alan Grant going up and being like, it's a dinosaur. Oh, yes, it's a dinosaur, as the beautiful theme is playing. And it grows and it grows in terms of what they are discovering. It's not just the brachiosaurs, but you got a T-Rex? You got a T-Rex? Yeah, we have a T-Rex. And he's like, oh, he nearly collapses. And then he sees all the dinosaurs in their herds grazing and moving. And then he has just that moment of, they move in herds. They do move in herds. It's just so, like, I'm getting goosebumps just saying that again, because it's such a beautiful scene. And that part with the paleontologist wanting to hug the titanosaur, like, it's a sweet moment. The music saves it. So yes, Alexander Desplat, great job in adapting the soundtrack. You did a great job, my man. But holy cow. It unfortunately, the scene, as Listening In, the YouTube channel Listening In, brought up, is that you need to use that theme appropriately, really truly appropriately in the story, and that sometimes it would actually feel out of place. And that's actually something that I think would be a good point of comparison. And I'll let other people do that. I think that would be fun to see other people really compare the different moments where the Jurassic Park theme is utilized and see which ones really are able to tap into the full depth, breadth, and beauty of that score and how it's meant to complement the journey of the characters. John says, the next movie I'll see is Superman. I was disappointed with Final Reckoning. I haven't yet seen Final Reckoning. My sister Anya wants me to go see it and then report back to her on what I think of it. And I just haven't yet made the time to do it because it's such a long movie. And then, is this movie anything like Dino Crisis from the PS1? I never played Dino Crisis, so I can't say for certain, Arts. But it definitely has a feel of some of the Jurassic Park games. So maybe that's where they drew some of their inspiration. Diagram says, if you are not going to believe it, Microsoft laid off 15,000 people to setting up AI games. I fear this would happen. Yes, the transition to AI. Yeah, it's not going to help them in the long run. It's them trying to cash in on government credits and save money in the long run and chase more brownie points while losing other brownie points. It's dumb. Meg says, dang, $312 million. Dang, I can at least add 9% of that $300 million to my personal bank account, please. Wouldn't that be nice? John says, I miss the mid-budget comedy. Same here. People just don't know how to write comedy these days. And that kind of leads into the atmosphere of mediocrity that's being perpetuated now, especially by Hollywood. Ours says you have to pay taxes on that mid-budget. Yes, the taxes, the 60 to 70% taxes. That still leaves you with lots of millions. It's like them replacing reporters with AI articles. Yeah, I know, I saw that. And I was like, really? AI cannot go and do investigative journalism. AI cannot do so much of what just a general human can. Hey, Matter Lad, great to have you here. Okay, so that's my word on Jurassic World Rebirth. Jurassic World Rebirth in many ways feels like a first draft, a good first draft, but a first draft nonetheless, where it ignores anything about proper character development. It goes against its own world building. It demands that you forget everything that came before. And while it is able to deliver brilliant action set pieces, great horror moments, those are just in a string of and then. A story lives or dies by its characters. No one will remember these characters or the story. They may remember some of the really cool action pieces, especially the T-Rex swimming scene and the D-Rex eating the helicopter out of the air. But it probably will not be remembered for very long for much more other than those two. And maybe a few like cult favorite scenes. Because the Jurassic Park franchise does have a very strong cult following. John says, heck, I'll take a mid-budget X-Files movie. Wouldn't that be great? But please, at this point, I'm just like, just leave the X-Files alone. Come up with something new. So, speaking of something new, let me bring up again Elio. So, all right. Get rid of the audio right there. So, Elio is something new. Congratulations, Pixar. You actually did something new-ish. The basic plot of this movie is that you have an orphan boy who gets brought in who is being raised by his aunt, who is a major in the Air Force. And he knows he's different. He knows he's weird. And without his parents around who really understood him and really got to know him, he feels like there's just no one or no place for him on Earth. And so he wants to go up to where the aliens might be. And when he finally has the chance to contact aliens, He greedily, happily takes it. The aliens abduct him, take him to this place called the Communiverse. What do you know? Communism in space. And they invite him to join. They invite him to join the team, but then those aspirations are destroyed when this pill bug warlord is like, well, I will destroy the Communiverse unless you guys allow me into your special club so I can combine my weapons with your technology and we will rule the universe. And Elio offers, as the leader of Earth, which he isn't, to go and negotiate with the pill bug warlord. In doing so, he gets imprisoned, finds the warlord's son, befriends him, and then uses the son as a bargaining chip to stop any sort of future conflict. When he finds out that the pill bug's son does not want to become a soldier, they decide to make a clone of him. The father figures out, you made a clone of my son. And he's like, where are you keeping my son? And then begins to destroy the Communiverse. Elio is sent back to Earth, where he then has to work with his aunt to make it back with the pillbug son, with the real pillbug son, to stop the war. There's your plot. The thing about this movie, and it's a fine plot. It's a fine plot. The problem with this movie is that it tries to handle way too many deep themes. Holy cow. Way too much. And it doesn't commit to any of them. So it tries to tap into autism, and then after about 15 minutes, Elio's no longer autistic. Which, okay, that was a choice that was made. Elio is an orphan. We're going to forget that after the first 10 minutes of the movie. We're going to talk about the broken relationship between the father and son of the pillbugs. I came in here and now I'm bored. Oh, sorry, ISO. Sorry. We'll try to make it more entertaining later. But yeah, that whole relationship gets resolved in one scene. There's a whole lot in terms of like bullying, how even Elio's actually a bully, gets swept under the rug. World building gets swept under the rug. There's so much about this movie that could have been interesting that they just never committed to. It's like it's a one blip little thing and then they forget it. The thing though is that me saying that there's actually a really good heartwarming scene towards the end of the movie where one of the aliens in the Communiverse tells Elio, well, you're unique, and being unique means you'll often feel alone. And that line hit hard. There's no resolution to it, like, oh, but you will find people, or everything's going to be great. No, it's just, you're going to feel alone. And that is part of life. That's part of the journey. And I was like, neat. That's actually not a bad statement. It's kind of like Gandalf's statement of it's kind of like Gandalf's statement to Frodo of there's more forces in this world besides good and evil. Bilbo was meant to find the ring, in which case you also were meant to have it. And that's not a very encouraging thought. Sometimes the realizations that we have in life aren't meant to be encouraging, but they're meant to help us contextualize the situation that we're in, understand it, so we can make the right choice. And that's what I feel like Elio did well. And as far as when I said at the beginning of the stream that I actually preferred Elio to Jurassic World Rebirth, it's because Elio actually has character development. Elio is arguably a messier movie. It really is. It's a movie that cannot commit to anything, to any of its ideas. And so as a result, you're just getting yoinked around everywhere. but the characters develop. There's genuine relationships between them. And as a result, you get served up real character arcs that you can talk about and get engaged in. My sister, my oldest sister and I, we went to go see the movie together, and she and I were talking for a long time, hours afterwards, about the characters. And even though we weren't necessarily impressed with the movie, the characters gave us something to talk about. Whereas with Jurassic World Rebirth, well, the diatribe that I just gave you guys that went on for like a little over half an hour, that's about all I've been able to say about Jurassic World Rebirth at any one given time. And that's the difference between a story that actually has character development versus a story that doesn't. And that's one of the things that makes Elio maybe even more of a heartbreaking story in terms of like, oh, why, Pixar, why? Because they had genuine characters on their hands. They could have done some really cool things still with those characters. And with the premises they had created, the story was just too messy to capitalize on all the good stuff that it had in the script and to make the characters' journeys even more meaningful. So that's where Elio really trips up and falls apart. That's why this movie is in many ways a totally fine and fun movie, but it is so far from Pixar's best. So far from Pixar's best. R says they have him be autistic and then just randomly cure him. No, let me clarify. They don't cure Elio of his autism. It just never plays a role in anything that he does after the first 15 or so minutes of the movie. So he's very clear. He's very clearly autistic. It's not even like, oh, he's autistic encoded. No, he's autistic. But then that autism doesn't play a role in anything else that he does after the first 15 or so minutes of the movie. And that's why it's just like, ugh. If you're gonna have a character who's got a character trait to them that really defines them, you should stick to it. This would be like me writing Bleed, Steam, and Steel and having Zimon, who is in a wheelchair, get up after like 5 chapters of him being crippled and in a wheelchair, getting up and then walking. It's just like, wait, what? What? Let's see here. Marilyn says, by the way, I got a question. Is watching the new Jurassic World worth it? My mom bought tickets and is getting me to go, and I didn't know if it'd be a good or not, and from all I know, that it's mid or bad. Matter lad, let me just really quickly break it down for you. If you turn off your brain, you're going to have a good time. There's some excellent action scenes, some good spooky scenes that will have you on the edge of your seats. Do not think about anything that is happening. Because the moment that you try to bring your creative mind to the table to understand the movie, you will start seeing every single flaw in it. So if you turn off your brain, you're going to have a great time. And even if you turn on your brain, there's still some really great scenes. The problem is that it does not have any good character development or any development whatsoever. So it's just a sequence of and then. That is my breakdown in very brief about Jurassic World Rebirth. I think that you'll have a good time, especially if the popcorn is good. And again, if you turn off your brain. Mimic, it's unfortunate that Elio flops because the animation in the movie is gorgeous. I also think that the original director of Elio was fired and replaced. Yes, they were, and you can see that the movie definitely has an identity issue because it's not sure what it wants to be. The OG director wanted to dabble on very deep topics. Yes, which are not in the movie at all. Those were taken out, and again, because the movie never commits to any of its more heavier ideas and themes, it just feels very wishy-washy, which is unfortunate. And yes, the original director should have just focused more on telling a very compelling story of the oddball out, being Elio, thinking that he's found his place amongst the aliens, and then realizing, I had everything back at home. There's actually a very beautiful sequence for the audience. Not for Elio, interestingly, but for the audience, where we get to see just how much his aunt loves him. And it's such a good scene. And it's actually paired off really brilliantly with some body horror and with a really, really creepy sequence, which, like, it was great being able to see them balance horror and heart at the same time. I really, really like that scene. It's when the aunt realizes that there's something wrong with the clone, like, because the aliens send a clone of Elio back to Earth, and she's like, there's something very wrong with this. She's not sure what. And as you get to see that sequence of events, you come to realize just how much the aunt loves Elio. The thing is that she's just not used to dealing with an autistic kid. She didn't raise him until just recently. And she's a very busy military career woman. And if you are a career person in the military, you do not have much of a life beyond the military. So I like that aspect of the story. It's just, again, it's something that unfortunately wasn't done enough of, because, again, the movie as a whole just cannot commit to any one theme or idea. Tagaman says, Elemental has a decent story about Ember and Wade try to fix a dam that spread water across Fire Town. The Elemental's fine. I wasn't a big fan of it, but a lot of other people were. I mean, that's just totally fine. Art says, gotcha. Malice says, okay. Tyler says, the reason why Elio wants to be abducted to the aliens because his aunt never came to dinner because she has to work to do. He was alone in her home. Well, the thing is that's actually just one moment, because we see her in other moments being there for Elio. The whole, like, oh, I'm at work right now, it just is there to emphasize once again, she's a career woman in the military, therefore she has no life. Which is bad for an autistic young boy who needs care and attention. And not that he's an attention hog, but that's just what he needs in order to deal with the fact that he is a recent orphan and is getting bullied. So lots of things. And even the bullying aspect just kind of gets swept under the rug. There's just, you know, a story can have multiple heavy themes. There are some writers who are like, oh no, you shouldn't have these themes in there. I disagree. There are tons of stories that balance loads of different really heavy themes, but they manage to do it by keeping those moments concise, isolated, yet important to who the characters or to what the world are. If you can do that, and that's a real juggling game. It's not something that anyone can just simply pick up a pen and say, oh, I'm going to do this, and then make it work on first try. It does take real work to make that happen. So I wouldn't just say, oh yeah, prove that Pixar are a bunch of noobs by doing Elio better than they did. No, you need to be very good in your writing in order to pull off that kind of a trick, which is why most writers don't do it, because most writers also know their limitations. Mallet says, I hope I'm able to turn off my brain and not have hyper-analyzing mode on. I can't help it at times. Well, Matter Lad, say, go forth and enjoy the movie as best you can and report back. Tell us what you thought about it. You might end up really, really liking it. Tyler really liked it. I didn't. So different opinions, and differing opinions is absolutely fine. When you have your opinion, make sure that you're always able to cement your opinion with the details and the facts such as they are. And that's absolutely fine. Say, nothing wrong there. Again, as I told Tyler, like, my job is not to convince you that you're wrong about liking Jurassic World Rebirth. Just, this is why I don't like it from a writer's standpoint. There was one review for the movie that I do have to say, I have to agree that it's probably one of the better Jurassic stories in terms of how the dinosaurs are presented and the action. But again, I have to just I agree with Nathan 100%. A story lives or dies by its characters. Meg says, and with the firing of the OG director, etc., one of the main actors also left the project because she wasn't impressed with the direction the production was going on with Elio. It seems that this movie was just sort of doomed from the very start. It's unfortunate because it had so much potential. And I agree. That if you do watch this movie, you can see that there's great potential in the story. And there's some great scenes as well. The problem is that it just didn't come together at all. And so Elio, I feel, is more like a cautionary tale. to writers about what you might want to avoid. Marilyn says, also another question. I heard about him being a bully or something. Is the eye patch for a black eye or something else? Yeah, it's for a black eye. He gets the corner of a radio in his eye as he and this one bully are fighting over the radio. Now then, them fighting over the radio is facilitated by the fact that Elio is actually bullying another kid and trying to steal his radio. It's a pretty messed up scene when you stop to think about it. And like no, and only the second boy, the boy's like, "Hey, I'm here to join the radio club. I brought my own ham radio." Is the one innocent boy in the entire situation. Everyone else, including Elio, is an absolute jerk. So yeah, that's why he's got the eye patch, is from getting a black eye by getting a radio's corner just right there in the center of his eye. Ouch. Tyler says, and when they went to the space debris, most of the people called Elio to dodge the debris, including Guia from Luca from Italy. I didn't realize that the character from Luca was there in that scene. It's probably because I haven't seen Luca. But yeah, no, that scene did not belong in the movie. It was actually set up really well earlier in the movie by a really important scene for the aunt. In terms of her character, the choices that she's made, what her job is, was actually really good. But it didn't make any sense because there's no way that all of these people with ham radios would be able to communicate that well, and no way that all of them have the equipment necessary to track debris flying through space. Oh my gosh. Oh. Yeah. My dad asked me, would I see this movie before watching Jurassic Park Rebirth again? And I said yes, but I'm also not very motivated to see Elio again. I think the next movie I'll see in theaters, like John, will be this newest Superman movie. We'll see how well that does. But let's actually talk about a movie that was good. That was pretty solid. And there's no reason to look into like the exact box office for. Actually, you know what? Let's quickly talk about the box office for Elio. And I saw that there was a little comment about the Amazing Digital Circus. I'm going to get to that here in just a moment. But let's have a look at Elio box office results. Okay. Yeah. No one actually really wants to talk about how this movie's really doing. Okay, so worldwide has made over $81 million. $81 million is nothing to sneeze at. But when we then look at its production cost, $150 million before getting into the rewriting of the script, the redoing a part of the movie, and the advertising. This movie easily needs around $500 million in order to break even. Yeah, it's not. It's definitely not getting there. We'll just be honest about that. Yeah, Elio was doing pretty bad. Amazing Gamer says, just a moment, Lars. Do the stream mean to imply that big corporations are comfortable making at best decent stories with very few exceptions, and it's up to us to write even better ones? Gasp! I know. Yes, it is up to us to do the better ones. Tyler says, Elio getting hurt symbolizes the pain of loneliness. When Aunt Olga removes his eye patch, his eye is healed, meaning the pain of loneliness is now gone. I can see that being the symbolism, and that's not bad symbolism. I, though, wouldn't necessarily agree with them putting it into the movie at that particular point. The removing of the eye patch should have then come at the very end of the movie. When he finally solidifies that even though he's willing to go back to Earth, he is not alone. I think that would make it way more impactful. Commoncraft is here. Hello, what did I miss? Commoncraft, you missed my diatribe on Jurassic World Rebirth, and most of my little quick diatribe here of Elio. Marilyn says, not gonna lie, I didn't know that Elio was out before the stream. Yeah, most people didn't because Disney did not have any faith in this, and it's really sad. Actually, if you go and you watch this movie, it's not billed as a Pixar movie; it's billed as a Disney movie. Pixar no longer really exists as its own autonomous studio, even under the Disney umbrella. It's just another wing now of Disney animation. And the idea is to completely absorb it into Disney animation. Pixar will likely cease to exist, barring some sort of miracle. Or they'll be like, oh, this is the Pixar team, which is just part of the Disney, the greater Disney animation wing. There's their office there at the back of the hall, down the hall. Art says, yeah, they should just absorb Pixar at this point. The studio is not a moneymaker anymore. Yeah, it's not a moneymaker anymore. It's absolutely falling apart. Did you check the new Cat in the Hat animation movie? I just saw that they made one. I know nothing about it other than that. And and after the disastrous live action Cat in the Hat, I am very cautious about another Cat in the Hat movie. Yikes. But coming back to the whole, let's see, because I believe it was Tigerman brought up The Amazing Digital Circus. How about The Amazing Digital Circus episode 5? The plot about the gang doing a lightning round about every adventure was impressive. I agree, and I do have, and I'm running behind on my video review for that episode because it's just been very busy. But it is still on my docket of things to do. I have not forgotten it in the slightest. Pixar's just Disney without random breakouts into song. Yeah, at this point, pretty much. I agree, Matterlad. Okay, so as a really brief bit of comparison between Elio making now $81 million. Congratulations to them. And how exactly is the juggernaut that is the Amazing Digital Circus doing? Okay, so the Amazing Digital Circus episode 5 has as of right now over 48 million views. Let us do a little bit of math, shall we? If you look it on up, and granted, this is AI generated, so you have to take it with a grain of salt. AI says that the current common price for a movie ticket is $16. I'm not sure if I exactly believe that, but fine, we'll roll with it because people don't want to admit just how expensive going to the movies are now these days. It was as impressive. Art says it was as impressive as the Smurfs preview, which wasn't doing much for me either. Yeah, why are they still making more Smurf movies? Why? So 46. So 46. Oh, no, it's 46. 48 million times 16. What doth that equal? No. All right. So now add on to there. What the heck? There's no way. Okay. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Well, I mean, that's what the calculator is saying. So Lewis Felix, you expected good writing? I do expect that there is good writing in multi-million-dollar productions. Yes, naive of me maybe, but that's what I expect. So when you add it all together, here's your let me double check my math. Okay, there we are. Here is what the Amazing Digital Circus, in theory, because again, Amazing Digital Circus gets a lot of rewatches because it's free on YouTube. You have that number. Effectively, the Amazing Digital Circus, if it were in theaters, would have made by now over $600 million more than Elio. That's a crying shame. Now, what have they actually probably made in actual revenue at this point? If you take that 48 million and multiply it very likely by $5,000 because of view retention for the on YouTube, that being a whole aspect and how much you get paid. That would then mean that the Amazing Digital Circus episode 5 has made $240,000. Woohoo! Great for them. That is not the millions, and which is why Hollywood is not paying any attention to something like the Amazing Digital Circus absolutely kicking their trash in terms of views, because it's not leading to millions of dollars until you have a look over at how much they are actually selling in terms of merchandise and the fact that they've made money. I agree, Arts. I'm glad the Amazing Digital Circus is doing so well. It deserves any form of success it can get. And it goes to show that people are saying no one wants new stories. Oh, I beg to differ. The Amazing Digital Circus is doing a fantastic job. Yes, it draws inspiration from Toy Story and I Must Scream and I Have No Mouth. But it is its own story. It's something fresh. It's something new. We do want to see new things. We just want them to be written well. We want them to be done well. Animated, acted, whatever, written. Just make it good. Lepus Felix says there is a joy in smaller shows doing well. Absolutely, because they're beating the odds. Garn says also ignores the merch. Do not ignore the merch. Do not ignore what the merch can do. Conqueror says going to the movies is weird where I live because it's quite expensive, but students get half price on movie tickets, even if they are adults in college or university. Well, that's cool. Mig says just that 81 million bucks that Elio made in the box office only further proves it's not doing well at all. However, the 81 million will do exceptionally well. My bank account, though, oh yes, I agree. I would love to have $81 million in my bank account. I would put that to good use. Probably making one of my own shows. If I could, I would absolutely do an anime adaptation of my own book, Bleed, Steam, and Steel. Yes, I know. That's a very what's the best word for it? Narcissistic. That's very narcissistic of me to say, but I would, because honestly speaking, it's a fun book. And everyone else I know who has read it said it was really fun to read as well. So if it's a fun read, maybe it could translate over to a really fun anime. It says merch is given for me to buy these days. I'm so indoctrinated. Mick says, I'm so glad the show, The Amazing Digital Circus, exists in our lifetime. Same here. The magic, make it good. Every show should do that. I know. What is this magic of make it good? I mean, that's what we are here for. Talking about, like, what does it take to actually make a good story? So with that being said, let's then actually have a look at a story that was done well. Was it the best? No. And here's one of the crazy things is that K-pop Demon Hunter is a strange enigma within film right now, because of where it got relocated to. It should not have been put on Netflix. It should have gone to the box office to shred the summer box office. It would have done well. It would have done so well, but it wasn't given the chance to really shine, which is Sony's fault, 100%. The movie is good for what it is, for what it does, for the jokes it makes, for the emotional heart which is around Rumi. All of that is good. The thing is that there's actually an aspect to it in terms of writing, of where is it in writing quality wise. If this movie had come out at the exact same time as Kim Possible, it would have been on the same level as Kim Possible, which I know Kim Possible was really popular, but in terms of quality, this movie is Kim Possible levels. That's not an insult against it, but Kim Possible isn't necessarily the gourmet meal of excellent storytelling. It's good. It's good. Do not take it as me saying it's not good. But it goes to show that people now get really, really excited when something that is just good comes out. Or it says, weird as it may seem, sometimes a good story just comes to you and you get into a rhythm when you write it out. Other days, not so much. ISO says, I'm seriously starting to think that this is sabotage. I would agree that there's a certain level of sabotage going on here with what happened with this movie. John asked, did you see Sinners? I have not yet seen Sinners. I still need to go see Sinners. I just heard it's fantastic. So let's first talk about what actually makes this movie work. And everyone is going to credit the K-pop element to it. The K-pop music is awesome. If you don't like K-pop, then it might grate a lot on your nerves. But in terms of a story, you have these three girls who have been chosen to protect the world from demons coming in through this demon realm. And in order to create a spell that will allow them to prevent the demons from ever coming back through into this universe, they've decided to weave together the love and goodwill of all people through the power of fandom. That's actually not a bad idea. And so these three girls, who are the newest in a very, very long history of demons hunters, have decided that they will use the power of their music and popularity to bring together the goodwill of all people to create this amazing magical shield. And okay, that's pretty straightforward until we find out that the leader of the group, Rumi, is half demon herself. Okay, interesting stuff going there. And then the demon who was sent to destroy her and her friends was once human. And so you get this mirror image of the good girl band versus the bad boy band. One is led by a girl who's trying to hide the fact that she's half demon, and the other group led by a demon who's trying to hide the fact that he was once a human. And so we get this you get this fantastic dichotomy. You have these girls that are trying to do the right thing, but as these demon boys bring their absolute A game and begin snatching away the fans, and they begin manipulating the scene, the toxicity of the entertainment industry, combined with their own desires to save the people at any cost, lead them then to start making some really bad decisions. And so it's not that the girls themselves are bad, but they're teenage girls making bad choices, unfortunately. And especially Rumi, who's trying to hide again the fact that she's a demon, or at least part demon, and that she believes that completing the spell will make her totally human, leads then to all of the conflict that you could possibly want. And yeah, there's a lot of tropes and whatnot that are getting thrown out there, but guess what? Tropes are okay when used properly. Nearly every trope of K-dramas and of like boy bands, girl bands, young love, all of that stuff is getting thrown out here in this movie, but it works because it's the right kind of gears for the right kind of clock. So it's everything you could want in a decent story. Where I would dock K-pop Demon Hunter in terms of like why it is not a great story, despite how fun it is. Because it is fun, it's well written, and some of the characters are well done. Jinwoo and Rumi are fantastic characters. I wish that Mira and Zoe got more character development. They don't. As a result, they're just hang-ons. And I would like to have seen a little bit more of the other demon boys as well. As a result of that, it seems as though this story really is about just two characters. And not really the main villain, because honestly, the Demon King is just kind of there, which is another issue. That Jinwoo is set up. Jinwoo's not meant to be the big villain. The big villain is the Demon King. But the Demon King is such a background character that when he shows up on the scene, you're like, well, I don't want you here. Give me more Jinwoo, because I'm really interested in what this guy's going through. I want to see whether or not he's going to be redeemed. That whole aspect kind of fell a little bit to the wayside. I would like to have seen the side characters getting developed a whole lot more. Also, the whole generational issue, which was kind of shoehorned in towards the end, while that was very interesting, it felt like there was so much story that they could have dived into. They didn't. And that does take away a little bit from how the story overall performs, in my opinion. So it's a well done story. Me complaining about things is basically me as an author being all like, oh, I love these characters. Give me more of them, because they're not well enough developed. I want to see all the cast developed because I'm so invested in the story. That's why I want to see them developed. You teased me with some backstory and world building. I want to know more about that, but you didn't share it with me. Dang it! So that's where my complaints come in. And that's, again, more of me kind of nitpicking at that point, calling out things that don't take away from the story, but rather should have been there in order to fully enhance it. Because Rumi, Jinwoo, their conflict is well developed. Their characters are well done. The music is great. The animation is fun. The conflict is really well pulled off. The plot is beautifully paced. Great movie to watch. It's not just good, it is fun. And so it gets into that realm where you can say it's great without coming across as too hyperbolic. It's when you start getting a little bit more into the weeds that you can then see where some of the problems are. Whereas with Jurassic World Rebirth and Elio, the problems are right in your face. K-pop Demon Hunter, not so much. You got to get into the weeds, which tells me that the story was well written. And so as far as like, okay, so what's that magic of like, just make it good? What is it then that makes K-pop Demon Hunter work so well? Great characters for the ones that we get, great character development with actual character arcs, especially for Rumi and Jinwoo. We have a conflict that makes sense within the context of the story. The world building is not contradicted as the story goes on, which is nice. Relationships mean something. The relationships that Rumi has with Mira and with Zoe is fantastic, which is why I want to know more about Mira and Zoe, because that would just make the relationships so much better. They're already good, and I just wanted to get even better because I like these characters. And the dialogue was pretty on point. Again, the tropes were well used. And so it's the story knew what it needed in order to make everything come together. Now, I know I've been rambling on here for a little while, so let me quickly catch up with what you guys have been writing. Maryland, Ratatouille is also another very real one, except for the obvious gimmick, and I really love it. A grounded story that feels easy to connect with, and it would feel pretty refreshing to see. Oh, Ratatouille is so good. Hannah is here. Woohoo! Oh, shoot, I'm late, but Hannah, don't worry, you're here. Nick says, honestly, the very last time I was truly invested in a Pixar movie was when I watched Turning Red, Soul, Luca, and Inside Out 2. I missed that very last era of great Pixar movies, the last of old Pixar. I really liked Inside Out 2. I didn't think I would, and I really, really did. Soul was not meant for kids, in my opinion. It's a beautiful movie with a lot of great ideas that's more of an adult film. And that's okay. But it just didn't really feel like it worked with Pixar. But that's my opinion. Matt says, anyway, I'm done with my rant. Hannah says, I didn't know LMAO. Arts, I enjoy certain J-pop. All right. Meg says, Inside Out 2, I was reaching the word count limit. Dang YouTube. Hannah, I was about to be on Discord to have a little help to figure out what is the best name for my Undertale monster OC. Yeah, because you've been working on that plot, on that outline for your story, Hannah. And my suggestion is this: do not go with trying to make a derivative of a dreamer name. Make it something completely different. I think that you might end up having a really good time if you make your monster OC like really their own person. I think you'll enjoy it more if you go that route. Art says, I got to take off. Have a good rest of the stream. Well, thank you, Arts, for showing up. It was great having you here. Conquest says, sound like an interesting movie that will get a ton of fanfic and stuff. Yep. Han says, I'm about to go watch it in the future. Look epic. Comcraft sounds like a movie that needs a supporting show to further develop its secondary stuff. Yes. K-pop Demon Hunter probably would have worked better as a series rather than a movie because they could have gone to so much more detail. But then the budget for the animation would have been through the roof. It says, not to mention that men in K-pop Demon Hunter are as hot as the sun itself. And it says, so agree. Yeah, that definitely helps. That definitely helps to catch the eye for the intended audience. Comcast says, the word fun gives me a flashback to the time a bunch of people online trying to convince the general public that The Marvels was actually extremely well made by using buzzwords-based argument nonstop. Oh, The Marvels. What a sad movie. I went and saw it. I wanted to see what it would be like, and I was disappointed. And disappointed is the nice way to put it. Lepus Felix says, last movie I saw, because why not rewatch movies, was Godzilla 2014. A nice mix of action, story, characters, and it worked. Yeah, Godzilla 2014 was a good movie. I know that some people were upset with like the cinematography choices made, especially because it was way more human focused than it was on the monster, which goes to show that which that particular argument was pretty much debunked with the Godzilla -1 doing a way more character focused movie with that just happened to have Godzilla in it. But yeah, Godzilla 2014 was a good romp. Han says, really, I'm curious about Soul. Yeah, go watch Soul. It's an interesting movie. Comcast says, I'm super worried about my ideas for stories I want to write because the stuff I want to write is either derivative or part of my guilty pleasures genres I like. That's okay, Commoncraft. That's absolutely okay. To your point, my flagship series right now, the big series I've been working on now, ever since the beginning of Camille's Harem, The Legend of the Ten Lords, was born out of a fanfic idea for Princess Mononoke. Yeah. Fablehaven by Brandon Mull. It was basically fan fiction for Chronicles of Narnia in its original form, but then over time, both Brandon and I developed our own ideas, our own stories, and they took life from there. Derivative is not a bad thing, so long as you are able to put your own heart and ingenuity into it, where it becomes its own story. Derivative becomes a bad thing when it's very clear that you are just copying what other people have done, hoping to catch the hype, hoping to pass yourself off as one of the greats without putting in any of the work. That's where derivative becomes bad. And that's usually what derivative really has come to mean, though ultimately derivative is basically just another way of saying iteration, though iteration has a more positive connotation to it than derivative. So something to kind of bear in mind right there. So maybe a good way of thinking about your work is that you want to focus more on making your stories an iteration of the stuff that you already love, rather than just trying to copy what other people have already done. And I think if you go at it from that particular mindset, it then becomes a way healthier experience for you. Lepus Felix, I still need to watch Godzilla -1. Oh, Lepus, it's so good. It's so worth watching. Madelad says, I'm going to be honest, this movie just looks a bit over the top for me. Just my opinion, though. And you know what? That's totally fine. No one has to like K-pop Demon Hunter, but it's one that I would recommend trying out because I had a lot of fun watching it. And I'm like, you know, I think other people would really like this as well. And it says, yeah, I was going, let's see here. Yeah, I was doing is just the hard part. Most of the names, I don't get to know which fit them enough. They're Adol or Todki. I am sorry, I'm totally mispronouncing your names there. Your names are Hannah. What I would say though is this: is that if you're interested in how other people are able to interact with the names of characters, write out the names of your characters and then have a pronunciation guide for that character's name and then spend some time with it. So real quick, I know this is kind of taking us away from Demon Hunter and the and whatnot, but to Hannah's point right here, let me share with you guys one of the weirdest names I wrote for one of my own main characters. All right, so here we go. So here's one of the weirdest names I've written for a main character. Miku Lyrian. This is the name of the main character dragon in my book, Tumble-Teller. How did I come across her name? I was just throwing around sounds. But it's pronounced rules. Yes. I was just throwing around sounds, trying to find something that I felt would fit a more exotic, fun-loving dragon. And so when I first came up with her name, I was like, "Oh, this sounds really cool." But then I was like, "Is anyone going to get this? Because that looks like absolute gobbledygook." And so I had to spend some time by Miku Lyrian. Okay, that rolls well enough off the tongue. It's a little bit of a mouthful, so we'll have Miku Lyrian because I like the sound of it. But you know what? She's Miku to her friends. It completely skipped my mind that Miku is the name in over in Japan. I was just thinking about who the character was, and I was like, Miku Lyrian, that's her name. It sounds very fancy-esque. I love it. It's a mouthful, so if you don't like it, you can call her Miku. Lipa says, I tend to ask my characters what their names are. They sometimes take their time. Yeah, that could definitely go for the case. Naming characters is a hard thing, and it goes different for everyone and for each story. And it says, okay, so it would be pronounced Tig or Tyug. Tyug. Okay, I like Tyug. Tyug. Tyug sounds good, even though Tig is just one syllable. Tyug seems to roll off my tongue better. Tyug. So we'll go with Tyug. So yeah, when you think about you know what, is this character's name though? Does it fit? Does it good, or does it work for other people? Share the name of your character along with a pronunciation guide to others and get your feedback from them. And people will let you know if they have a hard time saying a character's name, because people want to be able to say the name of said character. Let's go with Galbatorix. Okay. A point of comparison. Galbatorix from the Eragon series. Galbatorix took me forever to figure out how on earth to say this guy's name, even though there was a pronunciation guide, because it looks like absolute gobbledygook. And on top of that, it's a name that didn't strike fear into my heart. Whereas the villain of the first book, Durza is single, it's sharp, good villain name, Durza. Yeah. Now, does Galbatorix mean that that's a bad name? No, it just means it's a mouthful. And if you have a character whose name is a mouthful, then you probably want to help us to get to know that character pretty well. One of the problems with Galbatorix as a name for that character is that we really actually don't know Galbatorix. We know of him, but by the time that we actually finally get to meet him in the fourth book, just the personality doesn't match the name. He was a really bland one-note villain. It was a real shame. Anyways, there we go. Naming stuff. Let me quickly catch up with the last few things that I missed. Love says to Common Craft, if you don't like what you are writing, why are you writing, even if it is derivative? Yeah, you always need to like what you're actually writing. There have been times where I've paused what I'm writing because I didn't like it at that time. I liked the idea. I knew I really wanted to do it, but it just wasn't coming together for me in the moment. That was me in my book, Monarch Mercenaries. I did not like what I had written, which is why I scrapped the entire draft and started all over again until I could find the story that I actually did like. All right. Love says, titles are even more fun. Some books use titles for characters that are hard to keep track of, usually hard fantasy or sci-fi. Yeah, the titles for stories can be really difficult at times. Conquer says, I don't dislike my ideas. I'm just struggled with the confidence in my writing and worried that the stuff I want to write for years was not that good of a concept. And Common Craft, this is where so to your fears and everything, this is why I genuinely believe when I say you need your stories need you, and the world needs your stories. You need your stories because as a writer, you need to be creative. You need to give life to things because that completes you. It makes you feel happy. Your stories, as you start to get into them, as you come to love your characters, you realize that they cannot exist without you. And so you're the one who's responsible for putting the heart and soul into them. And as we have seen by looking at the state of Hollywood recently, we are in desperate need of some dang good stories these days. So, the Congress says, sorry, I got to check out for about 2 minutes because the very second you respond to my comment, my mom called me to help my sister read a game text. Well, don't worry there, Comic Craft. Don't worry. We'll still be here for a little bit. Nothing gets written until you get that first draft. Amen. Malice says, I don't usually name characters in stories because I don't have anyone to name, but I do name the amiibo I get for Smash, and I love how creative I make some. Give me a moment to type them up since this is long. All right, we're looking forward to that list of names. All right, taking a drink of water right there. Okay, so let's just quickly though talk for a moment about let's quickly talk for a moment here about why a genuinely good story like K-pop Demon Hunter ends up contributing to this environment of mediocrity within Hollywood, which even though like I am not someone in Hollywood, I am focused way more on writing books than I am making movies or shows. The thing is that Hollywood absolutely has a massive influence over the publishing industry. How Hollywood is doing will affect publishing because publishing companies now are more interested in getting the massive movie or show deals rather than selling millions of books, which is a bad mentality to have. So the thing is that Sony, for whatever reason, did not have any faith in this story, which even though the story is, I would argue, objectively better written than some of the big blockbusters that have just come out, why was it on Netflix rather than in the movie theaters where it could have made a killing and easily have made $1 billion? Very likely. The answer is that Sony did not care. They did not care for the story. They probably didn't spend any time actually watching it or reviewing it. There are people, the director, the writers, the animators, the artists, all made this fantastic story. And so he's like, good. Thank you. Oh, K-pop. Okay. Well, we know what's successful. We know where K-pop is successful. on Netflix, all those K-dramas. Okay, we'll just send it over there, and then it's just a guaranteed check, whatever. And the thing is this, is that if they had thought that this was actually worth it, they would have put it into movie theaters. But they just didn't feel confident in it, which very likely comes out again by the fact that they didn't bother with the story. The story speaks for itself. The story is good. So what this means is that it's not just that there's a bunch of writers, a bunch of bad writers in Hollywood. It's just that there's also a bunch of bad directors and producers who don't have any faith in good storytelling, who are just more interested in creating content and slop because people will consume it, now go on to consume the next product. The thing is that particular mentality can only go on for so long. Eventually, people lose interest. And that's when you get to the whole doom scrolling and doom spiraling, and there's like, please, someone get me out of this. And then it's a fantastic artist or a fantastic song or a fantastic movie or show or book that manages to hook those people and pull them out of that spiral and bring them into something far better. And so we're eventually going to get there again. The problem is that we've been celebrating and promoting mediocrity for so long that now when you have a subpar movie, people applaud and be like, woohoo, this is great. You have a subpar book and people are like, woohoo, this is great. Because we've gotten so used to mediocrity. And when something genuinely great is presented, it's dismissed for one reason or another. And sure, not everyone who deserves their spot in the sunlight or in the spotlight gets it. That's just an unfortunate reality. But it's becoming more and more the issue that I see these days. And to kind of quickly hop on over to something else, it's one of the reasons why I think that Deltarune has just been making a killing. It's not just because there's a huge fan base for Toby Fox, but because Deltarune has a fantastic story, genuinely so. It's a simple game, like in terms of its mechanics and everything, but it delivers a phenomenal story that pulls people in. We need more of those phenomenal stories. Hollywood has forgotten its method, its model that once made it very powerful, which is you can make tons of movies and shows that really aren't all that great. They just need to be good. And in the midst of all that good, you've got some greats. Now, there will also be plenty of flops. There's always been flops and bombs. It's not like there's been a magical time where that didn't happen. It always happens. But you need to make sure that you're consistently cranking out good stories. Genuinely good stories in order to keep the business rolling. Hollywood hasn't been there now for almost a decade. And as a result, it is having a greater effect on the entertainment industry at large, where mediocrity and subpar stories have become the norm, and that's now what's being published because that's what's being consumed because that's all that's available. Yeah, it's a self-perpetuating cycle of downward spiraling until people are like, well, what are we going to do now? And this is where independent animation, independent storytellers and the likes have a chance to, even if only in small ways, make a little bit of a splash. Make a bit of a name for themselves. Entertain people because people are looking for good stories. There's a dearth of them. And we need them. We crave them. And the more that we can show other people that we can write good stories, even as novice creators, it instills a sense of hope. It does inspire other people, slowly builds connections between creators, which lead to some pretty great things. I know that some of you guys who are right now watching have commented over on our Discord about how just learning that there was a group for novice authors helped you out. Not that we provided any sort of amazing solution that saved your story. It's actually usually not the case. But rather that there's been someone there in your corner who's encouraging you. That has allowed you to continue on and continue to be passionate and feel more hopeful and optimistic about what you're doing. And that is absolutely incalculably valuable. It is priceless to each individual creator. And eventually we will get to the point where we start having a far greater impact, more than what we have right now. We see that happening with Glitch Productions and with other creators. And I can also see it still with just how we've been able to build, even in our own small corner of the internet, a little tight community. And there's other communities of writers out there who do support each other and go on to do cool and amazing things, and who are creative in their own way, who bring new stories and new characters to the world. And even if it is just an iteration of something that you yourself love, you bring your own heart and soul to it, which makes your story unique and interesting. And I think that's what we need to focus more on. We cannot have the Hollywood mindset of just crank out stuff to make money. Because if you go that route, you end up becoming a part of the problem rather than part of the potential solution. All right, let me quickly catch up with what some of you guys have written right here. Tyler says, "I bet this movie will win an Oscar." It might be in the contention for music. Probably where it will go. Disney might try to buy off people again in order to get animation. We'll see. Comcast says, "The stuff about a good or decent story getting sabotaged by lack of confidence annoys me so much because it reminds me of a fanfic I tried to read a while back. It was generic concept, but that was first in the fandom, but the author was so insecure they hid the entire story in purple prose." Oh, that's a shame. Marla says, "Okay, so we've got Suavemente for Ganon, Fred for Peach, Bob for Rob, Thunder Rat for Pikachu, Slamana for DK, Hades, Dark Pit, PK King Lucas, Disciple, Kirby, Zelda, Link, Gumgoo, Yoshi, Gummy Goo, Hayuk for Duck Hunt." Fantastic. Leb says, "Netflix has the numbers. Some of their best movies and shows are pretty small. They know internally all about their numbers." Yes, Netflix and their numbers. Not Disney buying even more studios. Oh, Disney can only now these days just buy their way to modicum of success. Nick says, "Hollywood has truly forgotten its roots. Even within the past 10 years, the entirety of Hollyweird and the entertainment industry has completely changed / shifted entirely." Yeah, Hollywood is just a completely different animal these days. And shame on the publishing companies for being like, well, we just want that quick and easy money from movie deals and the likes. And what makes it even more annoying is that writers in Hollywood these days just want to hijack authors' stories in order for them to then have a vehicle to then tell their own stories rather than. So basically, they fanfic their own. They make a fanfic of one person's story in order to tell their own story rather than just telling their own story in the first place. Hollywood has changed. In the old days, they would have A movies and B movies. They still do. But we no longer care about the differentiation between A and B movies. It's now just there's that the dumb political aspect to Hollywood now and how people treat Hollywood and in all honesty, so like other than a brief mention earlier about how like in the stream about how some people wanted Elio to be more political and that the director wanted to dabble in the first director wanted to dabble in certain themes. Other than mentioning that stuff, none of my criticism or praise for Elio had anything to do with social politics or current day politics or anything like that. It was about the story, the characters, the world building, the emotions. That's what we need to be focusing on more, and Hollywood has just forgotten how to focus on that stuff. It's just a real shame. Real shame. And it says, "I need to learn from Toby Fox." Yeah, we can all learn a thing or two from Toby. In terms of, and here's the thing. There's so many people who try to copy Toby Fox. Don't copy Toby. Be your own creator. But you can definitely draw inspiration from him. I know I do. Just coming up with names for some of the American Girl dolls is already difficult enough. Don't even get me started on what their backstories and personalities should be. Lova says, just to keep everybody working, actors on contract would play in a really good movie, and then in two just probably not it flicks. Yeah, back in the day those contracts still exist, but yeah, that was absolutely the pattern of how things operated way back in the day. Now actors and actresses get paid way too much money probably for big roles in movies that don't go anywhere because the writing is so awful. Love says, the Hideo Kojima effect. Some people love his games, some people hate them, but in the end, people find something about them. Yeah. Omega says, making a Temmie statue. I hope you like buff, cute characters. Birdly, where? All right, everyone. So, that's been my review and breakdown for 3 movies, and my thoughts on the current situation that we have there with Hollywood. And again, why should we care? Because as Hollywood goes, so go the publishing companies, which is which for someone like me, that's what I'm more interested in, because I want to be a published author. I mean, I am a published author, but I'm self-published. So I get to deal with all of that, with all of that fun. Any case, which you guys want to know about? Oh, that kind of fun. Yeah, I'm right now stuck, kind of in pre-production hell for one book because I need an updated cover, which unfortunately I can't get due to some certain technical issues. Because if I right now just put in the cover that I currently have, Amazon will screw it up royally. And I do not want this book to look nasty when it comes on out, because it is a fun book. Yeah, I will share with you guys what all of those production issues in a future live stream, because I do want to show you guys what it's like to publish a book with Amazon. This is the company that I self-publish through. But that will be a project for sometime later. Don't know when, because it all comes down to my poor artist over in the Philippines, who's been dealing with computer problems now for like 2 weeks. Great times. But I think that will effectively then wrap us up for this particular stream. Like I said, don't have time for like a 3-hour stream today because there's just so much other stuff going on. So I do need to bid y'all adieu for now. But everyone, thank you so much for being here for this live stream, for your comments, for your insights, for your opinions, your takes, and everything. It is great. And Love says, I would put this K-pop movie on my short list. All right. Chris says, hey Lars, did you see my comments on Deltarune? It seems my comments aren't getting through fully well. Let's see here. I do see they said, hey Lars, what do you think about what I mentioned about Deltarune and one of its themes I noticed? I don't know if I saw. Okay, scrolling back up. Okay, Deltarune I find interesting. I just finished it a few days ago, in the game specifically everything about Susie gives me anti-escapism vibes, a denial of anti-escapism without embracing absolute escapism. Well, Commoncraft, I would say that you should take that idea and fully develop it, because I'm a little bit lost on that. Like, okay, anti-escapism, but embracing escapism. Here's what I would say in terms of Susie's experience, is that for Susie, it doesn't matter if this world is fake or not. What matters most to her is that she has excellent relationships with the people that she cares about the most. She cares for Chris, for Raze, for Noelle, and for Lancer. And so she wants to have those great experiences with them. She wants to be able to have fun with them. She wants them to be in her life. And if we wanted to step back and kind of be meta to a certain extent, it's the same way with us in like video games and books and movies. There's some stories that we absolutely love, and those characters are 100% fake. They're never going to come out of their pages and come off the pages of the book or out of the video game and spend time with us. As much as we would love that to be the case, it just won't happen. However, that does not mean that our relationship with these fictional characters is any less important or any less real. And I feel like that's what Susie truly embodies. Is that if a relationship exists, even if it's with something fictional, it has worth and merits. And it's not something that should just simply be discarded. And that's what I currently see as I've played through the game. Now then, like I said, you should take that. You should take your idea and fully like flesh it out and develop it, have a good argument, some evidence and everything. And I think that'd be fun to read or to listen to. Let's see here. Lepis says, keep us up to date on that publishing. Will do. Master 98 says, juices. Yes. Han says, have a good day, or I see ya when I have something cool to show. Awesome. And I'm looking forward to hearing more about how your story's coming along, Hannah. Comcraft says, is the concept of the dark world not being real in a generic story? The whole thing would be growing past the magic and going to the mundane world, but Susie refuted that. Like Rosalind practically says, stop fantasizing and go make real friends, only for her to fully deny it. Yeah, because again, whether it's with something fictional or something real, a real relationship is a real relationship. Now, we could easily take that to a very toxic place, like the author for Rent a Girlfriend, who's like, oh, I'm dating my main character. Dude, you're not dating your character. She's fake. Don't take it that far, but rather that even with fictional characters, we can still have very strong connections and relationships that make us become better people. Susie has become a better person at this point in the game because of Lancer and Ralsei, who are, according to Ralsei, not real. Yet to Susie they are, because she has absolutely 100% changed as a person thanks to her time with them. Nick says, thank you for this great chill stream today, Lars. It was fun, relaxing. I had a great time and learned a lot today. We need more original stories, especially from Hollywood. Amen. And just to round us off today, Comcraft says it reminds me of similar themes of the magic away and the fantasy worlds ceases to be OST or becomes inaccessible, or cease to exist and becomes inaccessible. Going the route of Spirited Away. All right. And Mick says, it's a big world out there, and there's always been inspiration for making an original story. Love is growing up is boring, leaving the fantasy world behind, and never do that. Or you can be like me, and you drag the fantasy world with you to adulthood. Aha! All right, everyone. So thank you so much for being here with me for this live stream today. And I hope that you have a fantastic morning, day, night, wherever you are at. And I'll see you guys soon in the next video. And until then, tschüss.